Pistols do not win wars, but they save the lives of the men who do. A handgun cannot match the accuracy or range of a rifle, but can prove a valuable substitute in the absence of one. The Beretta 92, also known as the M9, is a definitive 9mm pistol, both in service and on the silver screen. So how did an Italian pistol end up replacing an American classic? Why is it a staple weapon in action films? And which is better, 9mm or 45 ACP? Founded in 1526, Italian co Beretta is the oldest active firearms manufacturer in the world. Gunsmith Maestro Bartolomeo Beretta made his name producing arquebus barrels for the Arsenal of Venice, and the company still exists today in a similar line of business. They were tasked with supplying the Italian army with weapons during both world wars, but perhaps their best-known product today is a semi-automatic pistol design, first devised in 1975. The Beretta 92 was a development of earlier Beretta pistols, such as the M1922 and M1951, with the latter lending much to the 92's exterior styling and the German Walther P38 providing the locking system for the barrel. In the middle of the 20th century, most American police forces were reliant on classic revolvers, chambered in .38 Special or the more powerful .357 Magnum. While familiar and reliable in action, their major limiting factor was capacity, with most revolvers carrying just 6 rounds, with a relatively slow reload to boot. In the wake of arms development during World War II, many European forces were switching to 9mm semi-automatic weapons, with their double-stack magazines giving them a large capacity advantage over older designs. Earlier pistols such as the Browning High Power and Walther P38 proved their worth, and would pave the way for a new wave of modern, high-capacity semi-automatic pistols, such as the CZ75, Sig Sauer P226, Glock 17, and of course, the Beretta 92. These new service weapons were dubbed Wonder Nines, with a hint of sarcasm from those who preferred the more proven revolvers. But eventually the advantages of these new pistols started to erode any resistance. The original Beretta 92 design, intended for the Italian army and police, saw relatively limited production. It was later variants that would prove more popular. The 92S added a slide-mounted safety in accordance with some law enforcement's requirements, and the 92F and the later 92FS added further improvements, which would eventually lead to its adoption by the US Army. The US Armed Forces had long been aware of the advantages of a semi-automatic sidearm. After all, the venerable M1911 pistol had been in service since 1911. Although the classic Browning design was much loved, by 1980 the design was starting to show its age, and the US sought a replacement. One of the driving forces behind the change was the NATO Standardization Agreement. In order to simplify supply logistics, NATO forces would use these same calibers, and since 1962, 9x19mm Luger rounds had been elected as the pistol caliber of choice. A controversial point even today, the 9mm versus 45 caliber debate is a particularly divisive one. 45 ACP offers greater punch, but 9mm rounds are smaller, offering greater capacity, and have both lower recoil and higher velocity. While some lament the loss in stopping power, modern 9mm loads proved more than adequate for most needs. And in 1985, the Beretta 92F edged out the more expensive Sig P226 to be adopted as the US Army service pistol, under the M9 designation. Reliable with its all-steel construction able to weather battle conditions, and with generous magazine capacity, the Beretta is a thoroughbred workhorse. Its selection by the US Army has led to its inevitable inclusion in a whole host of modern military games. Often a default sidearm, it is a ubiquitous ally to the American M4. It's the go-to choice for those looking to play soldier, although in reality pistols are only issued to select roles: rear echelon troops, drivers, officers, etc. In games, pistols fill a curious niche. They are often intentionally weaker than most other weapons, with limited range and semi-automatic fire. In Counter-Strike, pistols are the cheapest option, and such weapons determine the outcome of the first round. But once the money rolls in, they're quickly ditched for automatic weapons. The one place they do excel is in reactivity. Fast switching and quick on target. True to reality, the true strength of a pistol is as a backup to your primary weapon. They are ignored by most in favour of their rifle, or even replaced with an enemy weapon. But for those with the reflexes to use it, a trusty sidearm is valuable. In almost every Call of Duty, the tutorial slips in the old adage, switching to your pistol is always faster than reloading. The Beretta is a large weapon as far as handguns go, and as a result, it has quite a formidable on-screen presence. Much of the weapon's popularity can be attributed to Hong Kong film director John Woo. He was a fan of the pistol's stout size and near-bottomless magazine, and gave it prime placement in many films, often wielded as a pair. It's the protagonist's weapon of choice in A Better Tomorrow, and the same goes for Inspector Tequila in Hard Boiled. These seminal action flicks have had considerable influence, and this heroic bloodshed has seeped into games inspired by cinema. It's certainly no coincidence that the Berettas come in pairs in Counter-Strike, but it's the Max Payne series that is perhaps the most explicit of examples, with Max imitating classic Woo gunfighting action with dual Berettas in all 3 installments. Of course, the most direct link is in John Woo's own game, Stranglehold, where Tequila reprises his role from Hard Boiled with a pair of the iconic pistols. A far cry from its military service, it seems the Beretta has a darker side. 2 guns, infinite ammo, and paired with a thirst for vengeance. So the Beretta is a weapon with a distinct yet subdued charm. It makes a bold statement, but is never brash. Its legacy might never live up to the M1911, but while it's cut for a different caliber, it shares many of the values of the classic Browning design. Just a regular handgun. No showing off, just showing up and getting the job done. The Beretta 92. Classic 1 to 9. Reliable and always on your side. Thank you very much for watching, and until next time, farewell.